James Naismith didn't create it. The origin of basketball came from the plantation. Okay? If a slave talked back, if the slave left the plantation, okay, without any slave papers, we call this free agency. In basketball, football, baseball, hockey, free agency. It doesn't matter what color you are, okay? So you were dragged back to the plantation, dragged back to the Democratic Party. And the man, his testicles were cut off. His testicles, and also he was beheaded. Okay? The testicles, this is sick, were put inside of the skull of the slave who ran from the plantation. The same process of drying the skull, but this time the testicles of a male slave who kept running from the plantation because he wanted to be a free agent was brought back to the slave master. And the slave master's children were thrown into an apple basket. And the skull would be crushed when it hit the basket. You see, 90% of the NBA black. WNBA, what? 70% black. These are slaves, Brother Apollo. Multi-million-dollar slaves. They're rich, but they're not wealthy because they don't own anything. Steph Curry's rich, but he doesn't own the Golden State.
Everything that this being said or this actor said is very accurate, and it's interesting how she's deciding to talk about what she's a part of. But no, all respect. But what she was saying made a lot of sense, because even before 1891, basketball is meant to be a sacrifice to Luciferianism. So think about, if you ever played a game of basketball, only hoopers can relate to what I'm saying. The ones who had passion into how the game used to be, because it became softer than what we know basketball to be. But when you play basketball, you enjoyed it outside of the media. You enjoyed it outside of social media, outside of fame, outside of clout, just meetings and the political aspect of the game. You enjoyed it because you seen how peaceful your sanctuary was. And when I mean sanctuary, this is as far as like a church. So when these beings were taking us to church, that was just their synagogue of Satanism. Because when you understand too, the rectangle, square and the circle. So when the being was talking about the skull and the testicles and all that, and masonry, when you square the circle, you're basically putting the ego or the lens of God